Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of The Fabienne Show. And I'm here with Katie Chappell, who I admire greatly. We've only known each other for a few months, but you have absolutely blown me away by the woman that you are, by your authenticity, by that achiever in you, but also this way of walking through the world. And I am so delighted to have you here on the show to talk about your journey so far and just share with us what it is like to be on the Boldheart woman journey. Welcome and introduce yourself, please.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I'm Katie Chappell. I run two businesses actually. So I'm founder of Illustrated Live. We create visual notes at live events online and in person. And I'm also a co-founder of the Good Ship Illustration. And we help illustrators navigate a creative career with like online courses and like freebies in a community and things. I think I joined Boldheart in like November, December, but I was a long time stalker of you, Fabienne. So
tell me why. What was making you stalk? I always want to know. And how long were you stalking?
Yeah, I mean, so I've done one of Denise Duffield Thomas's courses, and then she'd mentioned you a few times, and I was like, who is this Fabienne? So years ago, I looked you up, and I think at the time you were even saying like, I'm working with entrepreneurs at this level, and I was like, I'm not at that level, but I will look at this lady and see what she's up to. Just like always in my peripheral vision, like there's Fabienne Fredrickson. And then I can't remember what happened late last year. I think you were popping up on Facebook ads or something, and I was like, oh, there's a book. I'm going to get the book because this sounds like what I am interested in. And the book was like, are you spying on me? Like, how do you know what I'm going through?
A lot of people actually tell me that. Some women tell me, if you don't know what the book is and you're listening, it's called The Leveraged Business, How to Go from Overwhelmed at 6 Figures to 7 Figures with Your Life Back. And I'll link it in the show notes. But a lot of women tell me that they have tears in their eyes reading the introduction and like, how do you know me so well?
Yeah, it was spooky. And it was like, I'd had my daughter in 2022, and that was a huge change, of course. And then I'd started working with other illustrators and outsourcing more work and kind of creating an agency, but by accident. So I think last year I was like, is this kind of working? But I'd like to do it on purpose and not have this feeling of like, I have to pick between my family and my business. I was like, I want to do both, but I don't want to burn myself out completely. That was the start of it really. And how I jumped in. And I remember I had a call with somebody from your team, and I was almost just like, don't even bother like talking to me. Like, I just want to join. Like, what is the point of this call? You don't have to convince me.
Get on with it.
Yeah, exactly. I was like,
enter.
Yeah.
Well, look, just so you and I, before, when we were in what I'll call the green room before I hit record, we were talking about that we are not just entering the age of authenticity, but we are fully grounded, like here in this time where, what did you call it? Like we have a radar or a BS meter.
Everyone's BS filter is shared
before. Yeah. Say more.
Yeah, exactly. Just, I feel like now when you're looking to work with somebody or you're researching stuff, you can just immediately, it flags up so quickly if there's anything slightly off, or like the vibes are off. And I think as well with AI, like, you know, if you get a little hint of AI in the writing, even, I'm a bit like, ooh, and a bit like, you know, if you're looking at somebody and they don't seem to be painting the whole picture, that's always really off-putting. But I think, like we were saying, now more than ever, people, they're just not going to put up with that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think I'm in the same way. You listen, I've been 24 years in business. I've collectively done some really, really impressive things. I'll just say, and not in a bragging way, like, wow, I'm actually very proud for myself with what I've done. But I am still seeking guidance from others, and I just joined a like a coaching mastermind. And that same thing for me, it's like, if there's any sense of someone being massively in their ego, I kind of want to run the other direction.
Same.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So what wasn't working? And I really, by the way, I want to just take a tiny step back and say, I really appreciate that you're bringing up that you sought help, not just for your business, but you wanted to create this delicious life. And that's what I stand for. Like, we're not here to just, as women, accumulate just for accumulation's sake. It's not about how many private jets do we have in our hangar. It's about really, like, how good can I have it in this life?
Yeah. And I think that's where I was when I first jumped in, because things were going well. So in the Good Ship illustration, it's gorgeous because it's me and two of my best friends in the world. We run online courses, we help illustrators, and the feeling of like time and energy for reward is really good in that, because we show up, we do podcasts, we record courses, we have a great time, and then we have a brilliant team supporting us behind the scenes to get everything out and be consistent. Whereas my live illustration business, because it was me as an illustrator accidentally starting a business, everything was very like sellotaped together and like making it up as I go along, and like, maybe this works, and maybe this works. So I really wanted to kind of, it felt like a test, like a trial, like, will this work? I don't know, let's find out. Like, that's the whole thing. And it's been really tricky, to be honest, but we're getting there. So one of the first huge things I did was that I changed it from Katie Chappell live illustration to illustrated live. So now it's like it's separated from me. And that was a big first step, because I think when it was me, it was really hard to be like, oh, somebody else is going to be at the event. Sorry, it's not me. Whereas now it's like, you expect that. It's not going to be Katie every time.
Yeah. One of the way, as you know, because in the program that you're in, it's all about leveraging everything, and leveraging your business model is about positioning it so that it can actually run without you. And the expectations from clients that if it is your name, right, that you're going to be there and you're going to hold their hand, and that's not leverageable. Like, that'll get you to 6 figures, but never to 7 figures unless you're, charging 100,000 pounds per person. And so this idea about creating a process-driven company, right? I mean, the saying they say, I am the leader of a process-driven company. I am the leader of a process-driven company instead of a personality-driven company. And you really got that.
Yeah. And that's been really fun, actually. I think the nerdy part of me has really enjoyed, like, when I do something, I'm like, oh, I need to switch on Loom and like talk while I do it, and then save it somewhere. And then when somebody's got some time, I can be like, could you turn that into an SOP?
Can you please document this for me?
Yes, document it for me. Thank you. Like, even just saving the video is like half the job, really. Done.
Yeah. This whole idea of normalizing women at $1 million a year, but also normalizing turning into your business into such a well-oiled machine that doesn't actually need you that much, that you can sell your business down the line for millions, right? Normalizing that, where if you think about the fact that about 50 years ago, a woman having her own business at 6 figures was not actually a thing that was normal, let alone 7 figures. But this idea of creating SOPs and ops manuals and having a team and looming your processes just so like it can have a life without you. Love that for you.
Yeah. It's I was just saying before we started recording, like, some of it's been uncomfortable. And it's definitely so many learning curves. Oh my goodness. Like, with building a team and learning how to like get everything out of my head and be like, remember that people just don't magically know everything because it's all in my brain. That's been good. But then the nice thing has been like the community and people in there to kind of talk about it with, and see that you're not alone. And then when you have like the sessions when everyone's together again, it's like you get recharged with a bit of confidence and like, yeah, you can do this. Come on.
Yeah, I appreciate that you're saying that it's not easy, because I think there's so many of my colleagues and that are out there in the coaching world saying, we can get you to 1 million in like a weekend and 12 weeks. And I'm like, no way. It doesn't happen in 12 weeks. It actually takes a year or two, sometimes more, depending on where it is. And I appreciate that you're saying, sometimes it's hard because the person that you have been, the person you were in November was the person who created her results, that you experienced in November. And for any of you listening today, a huge part of growing and scaling your business to multiple 6 or 7 figures, whatever you think your next level is, requires that you change on the inside. It actually starts with your mindset first methodology. And I want to hear, and then, I want you to share the results you've gotten in just a few months. I mean, it hasn't even been 7 or 8 months, but first take us back to the mindset shifts and embracing the inner work that needs to happen to be able to see those results. Share whatever you want to share.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge part of it, isn't it? And I think it's so difficult in that crunchy stage where you know what you need to do, but something's stopping you from doing it. Like that resistance is horrible, especially when you haven't really realized it's resistance yet, and you're just like kicking yourself and saying, God, you're so stupid. Like, why haven't you done that thing? It's so easy. It's so easy. Why don't you just do it? And then when you're like, oh, I'm actually terrified. Okay, that's fine. And yeah, realizing that what got me to 6 figures isn't the same thing that will grow the business into like high 6 figures, 7 figures. It's been a big shift. And yeah, kind of trying, also just thinking bigger. Like, I'm not just a freelancer doing jobs for people, leveraging my time and my energy so that there's lots of us doing work for lots of people and like having lots of happy customers and clients. Yeah, it's almost like just trying to expand your mind, but it can hurt sometimes because it's like breaking you out of your old habits and,
Let's actually unpack that for just a moment, because there are so many people who bump up against a speed bump on the road, or they feel resistance and they think, well, maybe it's just not meant for me. Maybe it's okay for other people. And what I've learned, because I've had the great fortune to work with literally tens of thousands of women, just like you, just like me, normal gals, ultimately creating epic things, is that we all experience resistance. And it's part of the journey, because if there were no resistance, everybody would be at 7 and 8 figures and beyond. And so the paradigm, this is what I learned from Bob Proctor a long time ago, is the paradigm with which you create a certain result in your business and your finances and in your relationships or otherwise needs to transform to the new paradigm, or else there will be resistance. And how do I say this? It's the who you are, who created 6 figures, for example, is not the person who will create 7 figures. And until you do the mindset work, the 2 paradigms will be like oil and water, and they will feel like the panic point. It will feel like things aren't working. It will feel like you're procrastinating, you're resisting, your money will break. Sometimes your relationships will break, your health. I remember I had this huge, like when I was right on the verge of doing something really big, I think I went into full resistance, and my right eye I was doing a 3-day event. My first one went completely red. Like the white part of my eye went completely red. And if you're watching the video here, I had my bangs on the other side, and I would just like throughout the 3-day event, cover my eye with my hair. That's like stuff will happen. It's because the old you has not fully transformed into the new you. And so the mindset work is absolutely crucial.
It's so funny that you mentioned that now, because that has been maybe like the past month or something. I've been in that space, and only in the past few days I've managed to like come out of the other side, because I was really like, you know, made a new hire and things, and everything was going well, but then just like panicking about cash flow and things. I think because in the past I've just kind of gone on vibes and been like, I think the bank balance looks fine, like it's good. And then now knowing that, you know, like wages need to be paid and clients have booked for like in 6 months' time, but they maybe haven't paid a deposit, blah, blah, blah. Like just kind of taking the time to sit down firstly and get all the facts was really helpful, so I could see what was actually happening and not just be like, I have a bad feeling about my bank account, what's going on? And then reminding myself like that this is what I want to do, because I did genuinely have that feeling of like, this is not for me. I'm scaling back. I'm just going to go back to, I will be the person drawing the pictures. I'm the only one you can hire. I'm just going to like up my rates, be really picky about jobs. I don't want to scale this anymore. It's too hard. And
ask me how many times I've said that in my career, and I'll give you the real number.
How many times have you said that? Please.
I've been in my business 24 years, at least 24 times, if not 48 times. This is just too much. Let's bring it down to the studs. Let's go all the way back. It'll be just me. Maybe one part-time VA. Enough of this nonsense.
That was it. I was like, I'll keep my VA. I like my VA. That's working well, but everything else can go. I don't like it. Yeah. It's too hard. Yeah.
By the way, this is normal. Literally 100% of people think this. And this is why I believe it's massively important to be in community with other achievers with big hearts and healthy ambitions, is because we'll let each other have this pity party and this like venting, like, rah, you know, it's not worth it. And then, you know, they'll give you space and be like, there. Okay, let's dust ourselves off. But tomorrow's a new day.
That's so true. And you do need other people that are on the same kind of, they're in the same space and things, because I don't know, when you speak to your husband about things, he's like, yeah, good idea. Yeah, sack everyone. Yeah, we're going. Like, no, it's not a good idea. I'm just having a really bad time, but I'll be fine. It's going to work out. So yeah, I think I like what you say about was it the breakdown before the breakthrough, or like pulling the arrow back. So I feel a little bit like I've been in a bit of that space. Yeah.
Actually, I want to tell you a story, because I'm not sure I've told you this story. It might be useful just because you and I were talking about the fact that there's no straight line, and it's not unicorns and rainbows every day when you're reaching for impact, the kind of impact that comes with having a 7-figure business. There was a point, the year that, so this was 2008, I had committed to cross the $1 million mark in 2008. So at least 15 years ago. And I was doing this big launch. I'm not even going to tell you what happened. It's like too long of a story. But basically, my virtual assistant sent the wrong link, the host link, to thousands of people as opposed to the participant link. And you cannot even, I couldn't put thousands of people on mute and everything. People were swearing at me and all that. And I hung up the phone and I sobbed at my desk. And I texted my mentor at the time, and I was like, I'm not going to use the S word because I don't feel comfortable saying it yet on my podcast, but maybe in a few episodes. But I was like, this is S, this is poop, you know? And I was just like, and he was like, congratulations. I'm like, what? F you. He goes, no, congratulations. You're in the breakdown before the big breakthrough. You are about to turn the corner to 7 figures, because this huge, massive breakdown that you're experiencing is only your paradigm dismantling so that you can take on the new one. And so this crazy idea that success is linear is completely false. We have to have the dark nights of the soul. We have to get to the point of almost giving up to then see the light. Oh, and then we persevere another day. And then when we're surrounded with other great people, have great mentors, have great like accountability buddies and people who are on the road with us, we come back to, oh yeah, okay, this is just the breakdown before the breakthrough, and I can welcome it.
Bask in it.
Bask in it. Bask is maybe like a very romanticized version of it. What's happened to your business? I would love to know, just to inspire some people, knowing that you are in the first few steps of your Boldheart journey. what's happened in terms of results in just these last 7 or 8 months, and how you did it. What did you change? Because I know a lot of women want to know, okay, she got these results, but like, what did she do? What did she change? Both in her mindset, in her team, in her marketing? Like, just, would you share?
Yeah, of course. So in terms of team, I have hired 2 like proper employees, and also for my VA, before she was like 5 hours a week. And then I got to the point I was like, look, I need way more support from you. Maybe it was 10 hours a month. What am I saying? It was 10 hours a month that she was helping me for, which was like bare bones essentials. And then it was after one of the activator sessions, I was like, I just brain dumped a list of everything that I could have help with. And she replied and she was like, leave it with me. And it was just like a weight lifted, and that was incredible. So one of the big things was my inbox. So before, she would tidy it up and label it, but she started actually replying to people and dealing with stuff, which was so good.
But let's talk about that, because I know that in the beginning, when I first let somebody take over my email and answer for me, I was afraid.
Yeah, I was very scared.
Can you put voice to what you were afraid of and how you overcame it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it did help because I've worked with my VA, Emma, since 2020. So we've got like 4 years of solid working relationship. So I was like, I trust this lady in my inbox. But I was still scared because I think there's this expectation, especially with the freelancer mindset, like I should do everything. And if the clients don't get a response from me, it has to be me. Like the way I type things is funny and friendly, and like other people might not do it. And I just had to kind of, again, approach everything like a test, like an experiment. I was like, see how it goes. I just gotta give it to Emma, see what happens. Nobody's gonna die. It's an email. And then, just the way I felt not having to look at my emails all the time. It's still a habit I'm working on, because I think I have like decades of entrenched email checking all the time.
Sure.
As soon as I stopped feeling like I had to, that, it was incredible. Like a weight was lifted, and the benefit of that outweighed any fear of like what might happen. So yeah.
How did you train her to answer your emails?
To be honest, with the emails, I think Emma was so switched on. She'd been watching how I'd been replying for years anyway. So she was like, I know that Katie would do this. And she's super organized and would like label things and let me know what was happening. So there was like an FYI folder so I can click through and just see what's going on, so that nothing's a mystery. That's been huge, because that was one of my big fears, was like, I'm not going to know what's going on in my business. I'm going to have no control. It's all going to be like falling apart and I'll have no idea. I'll just be like out having a good time. So because the communication is really high, that's really helpful.
I had the exact same fear. Like, if I don't have my finger on the pulse of what's going on with my clients and just the world at large, I'll somehow lose my it factor, my mojo. And I actually didn't find that to be the case at all.
No.
Same with you?
You just gain freedom instead.
Yeah.
Woohoo. And your emails still get answered. It's magic.
It's actually so much better. I tell people now, I don't want to give you my email address, because I think you might hold me in high esteem, but if you don't hear back from me for 60 days or 15 days, I'm not used to answering my emails anymore, so I don't really go check. And you would think less of me. So it's best if my team does it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing as well. I've learned, like, in the best way. I mean, you say this all the time. Entrepreneur means you're good at starting new things.
Yeah.
Having exciting new ideas. Not great at consistently replying to emails, especially if they take any thinking. I'm like, ugh, boring. I don't want to do that. And then file it away and don't do it. Whereas if my team are in there, things actually get done consistently.
They actually get done on time, and when they're trained well. So what I did is that I created a document with every time my team would, when they picked up my email to be able to answer, they'd say, Fabienne, how do I answer this? And instead of answering it myself, I would say, Jane, here's what you can send back to the client. And then she would take the email that came in, put it in a doc, and then the answer that I provided her, put it in the same doc, and she created a frequently asked email questions. And that was probably created 20 years ago. And it's become this really long thing that now I don't train new people to answer my email. It's all there. And literally the next day, it was, Fabienne at insert whatever the email was, stopped coming into me. It was like crickets in my inbox. It was one of the most beautiful days of my life. Cherubs were singing and little angels were, flying all around. I had peace and quiet. It really does change your life. How did it change yours?
Yeah, hugely. I mean, one of the most stressful things for me was when I was at an event, doing what I love, listening to the keynote speaker, drawing what they're saying, totally in the moment and like creating images and stuff. And then I would just, in the break time, get a sneaky glance at my phone and be like, oh no, I've got like 12 emails and they're all really important and I need to reply to all of them. There's none of that anymore. Because firstly, like my VA will know to put my out of office on and say like, Katie's at an event, but like, we'll get back to you. Just don't, nothing urgent will be replied to, sort of thing. And yeah, just like having that space to actually enjoy what I do, and so either enjoying what I'm doing at an event or have space for the big things, like thinking big picture and zooming out, and not just being like, oh, I've updated your contract. Oh, here's the admin thing. Like that's all so nitty gritty, minor, like busy stuff that fills up your brain. But as soon as you get above that, that's when you're like, oh, okay, I can see like what I could be doing. Like for instance, communicating new stuff on the website and things that I would never get to, or like setting up a new inquiry form that's going to work so much better, or like just looking at what has been working and what's not working, improving things, setting up new courses. We created a new course in the good ship, and I would not have been able to do that before because it took a huge amount of effort and energy, but also the space, like the mental space, to just step away from my inbox a bit and be like, okay, how can I help these people with all of my brain and not be sidetracked all the time?
One of the big things, if you'll remember, when we do the unique brilliance exercise in our work, is to look at all the things we're only competent at and all the things we're incompetent at, and then delegate, automate, or eliminate all of those tasks. Those are tasks, by the way, that don't make us money and don't move the business forward to begin with. So it is literally wasted time in an ambitious entrepreneur's day, that when those are eliminated, automated, or delegated, then you have so much more thinking time. And this is what I'm always telling you guys. It's like your number one job to get to 7 figures is to think and to vision and to innovate and not to do. And we have to break the habit of doing so much in our business to be able to grow exponentially. And just like you said, it's really difficult because for 10, 20 years, we've been taught, especially in school. And then I don't know if you were in corporate, but I was for 8 years. It was like, do. Now that you're at this level of business, if you're nearing 6 figures or you're like firmly at 6 figures, you actually have to work so much less if you want to make more and grow the business. And that's when we can focus on exponential growth activities. And that's what's happened to you. So I remember when you launched a program, actually early days in the program, you launched something. Am I hallucinating in thinking that you launched a program that immediately went to 6 figures?
Yeah, that's correct.
Could you tell us about that? That's kind of cool.
Yes, it was cool. Yeah, especially because it had been on the back burner for 3 years. Like we'd been like, we're going to do this course. We're going to do this course. It's coming. And then it just got to the point. I had joined Boldheart. My daughter was like, she's still a baby, obviously, but like a little bit bigger. And I was like, hey, now is the time. And I set myself a goal and I really went for it. Like, so I did the thinking around it as well, but I was really disciplined, actually. I surprised myself. I would set my alarm for 5 a.m. on a Monday, get to the studio, nobody was here. It was eerily quiet. It was gorgeous and so luxurious because nobody was disturbing me. And I would just like rattle through this list of the stuff that had been stirring in my brain for 3 years. This course, like helping illustrators with their business stuff. And it just felt so good to get it out there. But the really exciting thing was, before we launched the actual main course, I realized that I find it so much easier when it's live. Like if there's a date in the calendar and I know people are going to show up and I need to teach them, I get way more done. So I was like, I'm just going to go with that. Like, this is totally going to help. So I set a couple of dates, slapped a sales page together, got our assistant in that business to like set up the behind the scenes bits, and did it. And that brought in 20,000, like, I think it was 3 days or something, which was brilliant. And it also gave a bit of confidence behind the whole course, because that was just like a sneaky early preview. And yeah, I think just like the inspiration to do stuff like that and the fast action, be like, let's just see what happens. Let's just do it. Yeah, and it's so much fun. I think that's the main thing, having fun in business.
Yeah.
It's really important.
We didn't start our own business to feel like we're in a prison doing stuff we hate. Katie, what's happened to your business since you joined Boldheart? Like, are you comfortable talking about numbers? Are percentage growths? And the reason why I ask is that I want to know stuff like that as a woman in business. When I see that another woman has done it, I'm like, oh my God, if she can do it, I can probably do it too. So whatever you're willing to share, I think would be super inspiring for the women listening today.
Yes, I mean, in my live illustration business, it's funny to look at like the numbers and things, because I was over 300,000 a year when it was just me and like 1 or 2 illustrators and a part-time VA. And then I had a baby and my income, it didn't go down that much, but it went down a little bit. And now I'm back up on track to like achieve that again, or go hopefully beyond it. And that's just in the live illustration side of things. And the other business that I co-run with my friends, that is just on a steady upward trajectory, like a reliable train, which is lovely. And we've done things like introduced like a longer payment plan and things, so it has this feeling of like it's just chugging along all the time, which is lovely. Yeah, I suppose I feel less comfortable talking about that one because it's got my 2 friends in it as well, but I know they won't mind me saying that it's doing well and we're having a really brilliant time.
Yeah, I get that.
And yeah, and like combining the two, it gives me a really healthy income to support my family and, you know, the people that work for me and the illustrators that work for me. And that's something that makes me so excited. So like even for today, for instance, we have an illustrator in Malta covering a job. Like the company, like we didn't fly out, the client flew her out and put her up in Malta, and she's having a brilliant time. Yesterday, somebody was in Nottingham. One of our illustrators was in Nottingham for a thing about violence against women, obviously stopping that happening. And then tomorrow we have 2 events, one in healthcare and another one, I can't remember. But the beautiful thing is I'm not doing any of them. And it's my daughter's 2nd birthday tomorrow, and I will be at home, which is, you know, I've been in the studio working a lot this week, but I was like, you know, when it gets to like, after we finish this, actually, I'm done as the weekend, as far as I'm concerned. And that is...
we're recording this on a Thursday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's like, when we're talking about numbers and stuff, numbers are really exciting and lovely, and you can buy like nice things. We're having the bathroom renovated. My dream bathroom is on the way, which I'm very excited about. But the most exciting thing is that, yeah, I get to hang out with my family tomorrow. And business is still chugging along without me doing everything.
So what I'm hearing is you're either at or at some point soon going to be at around 500,000. You don't need to answer, but that's what I'm gathering. Maybe even if it's in 6 months.
Yeah.
You get to take 3-day weekends. You don't look at your email much anymore. You've got all these other illustrators going to the events, and you're hanging out with your 2-year-old. And this is just the beginning.
It's wild, really, when I think about it like that. And also just gorgeous to be able to support other illustrators, because I've been there when I was starting out in my illustration career. Like, I was a nanny earning £75 a week looking after other people's children, and then like working as much as I could outside of that to scrape any illustration money in. So it blows my mind now to be in this situation where I can support other illustrators and have them contribute their talent and incredible work to what we're doing.
And I'm just thinking, you're not even up. Like, the first year is not up. You still have like another year and a half.
Yeah, exactly. What?
And so let me ask you this. What are you capable of achieving with this kind of support in the next 18 months, let's say, by the end of 2025? What do you think might be possible for you?
Yeah, I mean, I could tell you what I wrote on my goal card.
Yeah.
It was stuck up on the wall, but then when I hired people, I felt a bit embarrassed about it and I hid it again. I'm going to put it back up.
Yeah.
Stuff it. It was to scale gracefully to 1 million, because I was like, I don't want to burn out. I don't want to feel bad. Obviously, there's going to be some discomfort. I know that's natural, but I want to like glide up there.
Yeah.
In one or both of my businesses. And I was like, it might be that combined, it's like just over that, or it's combined, it's 2. I don't know. And maybe I'm a little bit vague on that for the universe to know what I mean. But just generally, graceful scaling is the name of the game.
Yeah. I'll say without a doubt that I can see you in 18 months at 1 million in your business. And I see this all the time. I see people do it all the time because that's what I do, right? I am here to help women step into what they thought was impossible at one point, which for me is absolutely normal because I see it every day. But for you, when you first started your illustrator business, did you ever think you would utter the words, I'll be at 1 million?
Never. I tell you what my first big goal was. It was £40,000. And that's because I'd heard that lecturers could make that at university. And I was like, I'm going to be a lecturer. I'm going to, £40,000. That sounds amazing. And I became a lecturer and I hated it. It wasn't for me at all. Like, the paperwork, the students, the admin, it was like, it squashed every bit of teaching out of me that I enjoyed. And now to be able to teach online and share my stuff with the world without having to like go anywhere is amazing. I feel like my energy levels can stay relatively consistent, and I can just still have lovely connections with people and feel like, I'm helping them, changing their life, but without, roaming around. I was commuting, it was something like 2 hours each way when I was a lecturer. It's horrible.
Yeah. Now you work from home. You go to the studio.
Yeah, exactly. I've got a studio 10 minutes from my house. And I do go to events when they sound really exciting. So there's one in a couple of weeks, and they were like, we'll put you up in the Hilton for one night. And I was like, okay, that sounds nice. I'll do that one. I can be choosy.
I talk a lot, and I will talk a lot here in this podcast about the difference between obligation and choice, obligation and pleasure, and how we women are reared, socialized to put the needs of others before our own and to feel obliged to do things like it's our role to make other people happy as opposed to ourselves. And this idea, just watching you just live into that and being like, no, I don't feel like going to that. I'm going to send you another fabulous illustrator that I have, or it doesn't fit in my schedule. And to really prioritize yourself is gorgeous.
And I think it comes back to that BS filter we talked about, like knowing that I could do that, but if I was completely authentic and really, like when I tell clients I really trust this illustrator and their work's fantastic, I really mean it. I'm not fobbing them off. And it is like they're a good friend. Like I was going to call my business Katie and Pals. And I was like, no, it's too casual. But that's basically what it is. Like Katie and Friends is like, here's my friends. They're really good. Like you should like have them. They're better than me a lot of the time. They're doing a better job. So.
And understanding and putting our ego to the side. You know, sometimes people have said to me, but I just want to work with you, Fabienne. I don't want to work with this other coach. I'm like, you don't understand. This coach is better at that one particular thing than I am. I'm not going to try to convince you that I'm the best at everything because I cannot be, but I have put my good housekeeping stamp of approval on this person. What are some of the biggest insights and things that you've learned in Boldheart so far? Are there some things that you're like, oh my God, I may have heard of that before, but now I'm living it, that you've applied to your business? Anything you can share? Like maybe even like the feeling is the secret that you were sharing about earlier.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think especially coming out of that tricky few weeks where I was like, I'm giving up. This is terrible. Just reminding myself that like how important feelings are and like noticing my energy and how I'm feeling. And fair enough, like the masculine side of things, the getting stuff done is important because you have to do things. But really giving myself permission to really take time out to work on mindset stuff, understand that when I'm feeling huge resistance, there's something to work on there and it's really juicy and I can like dig into it. See, I think mindset would be the big one.
Mindset is the big one. I think we mistakenly think that it's all strategy, right? It's linear, it's strategy. You're going to get the exactly how to. And then we completely ignore the existence of the subconscious mind, the self-image, the wiring that we have, how we've been brainwashed to think about a certain level of success. And that if we undo the brainwashing and we shift the mindset, transform the limiting beliefs, reduce or eliminate the fears, there's really nothing we can't do.
Yeah, 100%.
Amazing. Any words of advice for a woman who's perhaps in your like in the before of the before and after? And I'm understanding that we're talking about your current after, but I'd love to revisit this conversation.
That would be fun.
In a year or a year and a half, and then bring some more of your insights. What would you say to a woman who's probably overwhelmed, working hard, and maybe sacrificing some parts of her life? What would you say to her?
You don't have to do that. Like, stop. You can, yeah, because it's so hard being in that space of being like, I have to pick which one is it, family or career?
Yeah.
And I think society will have a great time being like, yeah, you have to pick, like, you can only have one, but you really can, like, leverage your business in a way that means you can be at home with your family, but you're still running a successful business. It's possible.
Yeah. Just even that, if there's a woman who listens to your words and says, okay, it's possible, it doesn't have to be this way, then just that can create the transformation, the possibility, right? And as you said, it all started with you reading the book. So if you haven't read the book yet, I recommend it. You can find it on boldheart.com or, of course, in the show notes. Katie, thank you for being here and just being this light of possibility and just so humble and so real. And I don't know about anybody else listening to this, but I'm putting my chips on you. If we're going to use like
no pressure,
a gambling turn. I'm not quite a gambler at all, but I'm betting on you. You are going to continue to step into and be an example for all of us on someone who can have it all, right? Impact, success financially, and also a delicious life at the same time with no compromises.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Thanks for being here with us today. I really appreciate you.